2NURFM's Health and Wellbeing for our sponsor Mullen Natural Health Centre, Hamilton.
Obviously red meat's a part of our diet, and I think for a lot of us we can cope with a certain amount of good quality red meat. And firstly, talking about meat, there's good meat and bad meat. So your good meats, I think, are your organic or grass-fed, pasture-fed animals.
Yep.
Not a big fan of the feed lot and the concentrated feed sources. And the bad meats are obviously your processed meats. Salamis and Devons and Frankfurts. A lot of additives and preservatives bacon. A lot of additives and preservatives go into those foods that have been shown to be, potentially carcinogenic. So you really want to be reducing your risk, your input of those sorts of meats. So I always recommend to my patients that, while good quality red meat, is okay, maybe 1, 2, 3 times a week. You want to sort of space it out with fish and chicken, and maybe even incorporate at least one night a week where you have a vegetarian meal, maybe even 2. So that's what I thought I'd go in today, is some of my favourite meat-free sources. And just before we go into that, like some of the benefits, a lot of cultures in the world, the Mediterranean diet I'm going to talk about in the second half today. Mediterranean diet is a diet that's based on like the peasant food from the Mediterranean region, and research in the 1960s where a diet that was largely plant-based, not vegetarian, but it was smaller amounts of red meat, good quality fish, good quality olive oils and things like that. And it's one of the only dietary approaches that has really been shown to help a wide range of health conditions.
How much protein should a person eat?
Well, the best way to calculate that as a guide is, for most people, 1 gram of protein per kilo of body weight.
Yeah, okay.
So if someone's exercising or going to the gym a lot, you can go up to 1.2 to maybe 1.5 grams. But keep in mind, so say if someone's 90 kilos, they can eat 90 grams of protein a day, but that's not 90 grams of steak. Like one steak, say for instance, 1 egg, what's a good example? So 100 grams of chicken might have 35 grams of protein.
Right, okay.
Because you've also got water and fat and connective tissues. So you've got to work out the protein content of the food. So an egg, for instance, has 7 grams of protein. So if someone, was 90 kilos, they can eat up to 90 grams a day. That's a lot of eggs equivalent.
To the protein part.
Protein part.
Yeah,
And I always say, if you're looking at animal protein, you want to have about the size of your palm by the thickness of your palm.
Yeah, okay. Right.
2 to 3 times a day.
Yep.
And that's including red meat, fish, and chicken. Vegetarian, you're looking at twice that amount. So that's the challenge for a lot of people that are purely vegetarian, is that they don't often eat enough or get enough protein from the choices they're making. But, I'm talking more about not so much being vegetarian, but incorporating a couple of meals a week where you're not having that animal protein.
Yeah, okay. All right, so some of the food that we can eat, if you're a vegetarian, foods are like...
Well, one of my favourite ones. So, as we said, many reasons to eat more meat-free meals. Saves money.
Yep.
And I'm a big fan. A lot of my clients will do a meal plan up for the week, and they'll do maybe a 2-week meal plan or maybe even a 4-week meal plan and rotate stuff. So it's cheaper, better for the environment. Less meat's been associated with lowering cholesterol, blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. May help to reduce the risk of things like bowel cancer and prostate cancer. One thing to be aware of, so it's good to give yourself a couple of meat-free days a week, and it's important to get your protein from a wide variety of foods, such as eggs and milk and fish and chicken as well. With vegetarian proteins, what people might not be aware of is that the challenge with vegetarian proteins, say chickpeas, when we talk about meat, the benefit of eating meat is it contains amino acids, and amino acids are the building blocks of proteins in our body. So meat contains all of the essential amino acids, so meat's a complete protein. Chickpeas don't contain all of the essential amino acids, so you've got to combine your chickpeas with, say, brown rice, or your lentils with brown rice, or your chickpeas with lentils, so to get that complement. So that's the only challenge. If someone's vegetarian, they've really got to make sure that they're combining their proteins. But one of my favourite meat-free proteins, and we eat this a lot, is do you like chickpeas?
Yes.
Yeah. So chickpeas, part of the legume family, And it's a diet. It's rich in protein, so it's got 19 grams per 100 grams of protein. So it's not bad. Yeah. However, it's not complete. So if you combine chickpeas with your rice, or a great way to have chickpeas is in things like hummus.
Yeah, okay.
So hummus has got chickpeas, and it's also got tahini, which are your sesame seeds. So that's giving you a complete protein source in your hummus. That's right. And on our website, actually, we've got a really good blog at the moment if people want more information with links to some recipes.
Yep.
So we've got links there to hummus. My daughter, Gabrielle, makes a really great flatbread out of chickpeas. And it's awesome, particularly if you're trying to be gluten-free as well. So even pancakes as well. So chickpeas are awesome. Number 2 on my hit list are mung beans. Have you had mung beans before?
No.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're a green bean. You can often buy them sprouted and have them in salads and things like that. But we make up a dish, or my wife makes up a dish, which is a mung bean dal. So it's an Indian flavoured dish with turmeric, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's full of nutrition. Protein-wise, 13 grams of protein per 100 grams. So it's not quite as good as... 24 per 100 grams. So it's actually better than the chickpeas.
Yeah, okay.
So again, you can get, but again, it's not a complete protein. You've got to combine it. Number 3 on the list is quinoa. Have you had quinoa before?
Yes.
Yeah, it's all the rage at the moment. It's actually the seed of a grain crop, known of the gold of the Incas. They used it to increase the stamina of their warriors. And quinoa is actually a complete protein.
It's one of those things, as you said, it's coming back in, isn't it? When you go to the restaurants, you see it in the menu. And
Yeah. Lots of uses. One of my clients today was saying that they make it into a porridge in the morning, and their kids actually quite like it as well. Use a little bit of maple syrup as a bit of a sweetening agent, and sliced banana. But quinoa is great, and as I said, it's a complete protein, so it's got all of the the amino acids you need. You can use quinoa as a crust on salmon. One of my girls at work, Carly, I think she spoke on the radio a couple of weeks back. She makes a pizza base out of it for her kids as well. So there's a lot of options today for people that want to be gluten free and grain free by using things like quinoa.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? When you start to look at the benefits of that food, compared to having meat. Yeah, some good options. Chia seeds. Now, chia seeds is definitely, again, being promoted as a superfood in recent years. It's a seed, come in black and white. Now, the complete protein, so it's a complete protein again as well, contains 17 grams of protein per 100 grams, and also high in omega-3 fatty acids, fibre, calcium. So it is actually really a superfood, and we've got a great recipe or great recipes on our website to make up chia pudding, and it sets like a tapioca or sago almost. My patients add it into their smoothies. You need to soak chia seeds for at least half an hour before, but overnight's best. So you cover them in twice as much water, and you put that into your smoothies, blend it up, and it gives it like a nice thick, creamy sort of texture. In chia sundaes, you can make a chia porridge. You can put the chia and the quinoa together. So again, they're just great alternative sources of protein for people. What's the when you say talking about creating porridges and things, what's the best way to can you make it all in bulk? Would that be the best way? So obviously everyone's time poor.
Yeah. Well, you can actually. You can make up if you're just using if you're just making quinoa porridge, you just soak it overnight and then prepare it the next morning. Soaking things like porridge overnight sort of half prepares it, and then the cooking time takes next to no time at all. If you want to make up more like a dry muesli sort of thing, we've got a recipe on our website for a protein, on our Facebook page at the moment actually, for a more of a protein based muesli. And that's great because you can go to the supermarket, you can buy your chia seeds, buy your quinoa, take all the raw sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, etc., take it all home in its individual packets, make it up in a big Tupperware container, and you've got it there ready to go. So this day and age, it's if you can spend the time getting the cereals ready, it's just like getting the cereal out of the packet. Only the nutrition in these sorts of meals far outweighs what you're going to get from, one of those brands which we're not allowed to say. And the final meatless protein source that I I do have and I do enjoy, and cops a lot of bad flack in the media, and that's soy-based products. But I tend to use mostly the fermented soy. So soy's got a bit of a bad rap, things like tofu, soy milk. There's been a lot of concern about phytoestrogens in soy, and and I'm not a fan. Like, if I use soy, I use organic, non-genetically modified, and I use a fermented form of soy. So I'll have some tofu occasionally, which is non-fermented, but I always make sure it's organic and non-GMO. And I went out for breakfast recently, and the restaurant was serving scrambled tofu. Now, I can tell by the look on your face that you might not have thought that was all that flash, but it actually was very nice. And just quickly, a couple of other really good soy products. We use tamari, which is a soy sauce substitute, so it doesn't have any of the MSG or food acids in it. And you can get one that's wheat-free and salt-reduced, so we use that in stir-fries. We use a bit of tempeh. Tempeh's like a fermented soy. It's got like a peanut buttery or a nutty sort of texture, so we use that in stir-fries. And a really great one that actually helps contribute compounds that help to prevent bowel cancer is miso. Have you had miso?
No.
If you ever been to if you go to a Japanese restaurant, often they'll give you a little drinking bowl to start with. Miso is it's like a bit of a Vegemite sort of taste to it.
Mm.
But miso soup, organic miso soup in winter is a great way of getting some extra protein, but also really helping your gut flora and helping to prevent bowel cancer. So they're all fermented soy products. So I don't mind good quality soy like that. And I think, when we're looking at having a couple of, meat-free, or at least meat-free Mondays or meat-free Tuesdays, there's some great options or great opportunities there.
You've inspired me a little bit with this.
Good. So we'll
you seem a little bit nervous.
Let me know next week when what meal you've actually looked at. But a great snack. I love hummus, and you can make. There's some really great, easy to make hummus recipes. So I'll often have that for morning tea with carrot and celery sticks. So that'd be a good snack for you,
mate. It sounds good, I must say, but it's the whole making it which concerns me a little bit.
Yeah. Look, as I said before, a lot of my patients will do meal plans. And it actually saves you money. If you know in a couple of weeks what you're eating every night, you're not wasting money on things that you're not going to use. But we always do at our house a bit of a prep day on Sunday.
Yep. Or
Sunday morning. My wife will make up a couple of things, and we might make some hummus and have it in the fridge and just take a big dollop of that every day. So you do have to be organised, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, what would you like to finish on?
Well, just the a lot of information out there about different diets, and the paleo diet and the this diet and that diet and the other diet. But one of my favourite diets, which I think is a good goal for most of us heading towards, and that's the Mediterranean diet. So research has shown that the traditional Mediterranean diet does reduce the risk of heart disease. This diet's associated with lower levels of cholesterol, also reduced incidence of things like cancer, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and reduced risk of breast cancer.
Yeah, okay.
So it's one of the only diets where there's been some, quite comprehensive studies or results sort of obtained. So I think that this is and it sort of encompasses a lot of the dietary components that I really believe make a big difference for us, would make a big difference. So it's eating primarily plant-based foods such as fruits, veggies, whole grains, legumes and nuts. So that's like, on the food pyramid at the moment, the bottom part of the food pyramid is all cereals and grains. So with the Mediterranean diet, the bottom part of the food pyramid is fruits, vegetables, grains can be included in there. But yeah, you're having that less of the cereals and grains and more of the fruits and the veggies. Using healthy fats such as olive oil, herbs and spices instead of salt to flavour foods. But I'm a fan of a bit of good quality salt. Limiting red meat to no more than a few times. A couple of times a week, eating fish and poultry, but eating fish at least twice a week, enjoying meals with family and friends. Like eating's not just about the food, it's the whole culture around food. And the idea is that Mediterranean style of eating with friends and family, and that they're a relaxed affair and people take a long time over their food, that really seems to make a big difference with the nutrition and the benefit you get from your food. Now you'll like this one, drinking red wine in moderation. Now, it is optional.
So he's put me straight into the category.
Yes, optional. and not every day. Getting plenty of exercise. So I'm a big fan of that. You know, also includes things like your nuts and seeds, but less processed foods. And one of the reasons why all these diets are so beneficial, paleo, Mediterranean, CSIRO diet, is that they're all lower carbohydrate diets. So pretty much across the board, any diet that someone's going to feel better for are the diets that reduce the processed foods, reduce the carbs and the sugars, and increase the fresh and whole foods. So it's fairly good common sense. But I particularly like the Mediterranean style in the sense that, you know, you're using good quality of olive oil, you're increasing things like fish in the diet, you're reducing excess red meat, and you're definitely steering clear of those processed and packaged sorts of foods.
All right, so we can get all the information on your website. Yes.
Yep, we've got a good blog there on those meatless options, and also links to some great recipes as well if people want to get on and have a look at those.
All right, and now you can also get health and wellbeing, of course, on our website at 2nurfm.com as a video and a podcast.
So people can get to see us in real life.
That's right.
So we have to make sure that we're dressed
Well, I
appropriately.
said, can you do your hair today? But yeah, you walked in. I said, oh.
Well, hair's actually not that much of a big an issue for me, Colin, as you might have noticed.
No, I didn't. Sorry.
Doesn't take much effort
I
at all.
realised that when I said it. Good on you, mate. Thanks for your time. We'll see you again next Tuesday.
Lovely.
This is 2NURFM.